How the dollar became a silent tax on everyone. A mystery hiding in plain sight. Before we start this amazing topic, please like and subscribe so that you cannot miss another awesome financial crisis topic. Also, if you like, share it with your friends. Must comment from which city are you watching us. Most people believe taxes are the numbers printed on paychecks, the deductions, the filings, the yearly ritual of paperwork and pain. But what if one of the largest taxes you pay never shows up on a government form, never gets voted on, and never appears in your bank app? What if it's built directly into the money itself? Today, we're pulling a thread that runs from war rooms and smoke-filled board meetings to Wall Street towers and supermarket checkout lines, all the way to the shrinking value of your savings. Because once you see how the dollar became a silent tax, it's impossible to unsee it. And the strangest part, it didn't happen by accident. It evolved, step by step, through crises, deals, and temporary policies that somehow never went away. Let's rewind. Money before money became a tool. For most of economic history, money wasn't trusted because governments said, "Trust us." It was trusted because it represented something real. Gold, silver, tangible value. Kings could lie, emperors could default, but gold didn't care. So early American leaders designed a system tied to hard money. Dollars were simply certificates exchangeable for gold. Limits existed, choices had consequences. But behind the scenes, another force was rising: central banking. The idea that a small group should manage money for stability. It sounded reasonable, it promised safety, and in the early 1900s, after a series of financial panics, something big was created. The Federal Reserve, a private-public hybrid with enormous influence and a mission: prevent crises. But within decades, the Fed and the dollar would be used for something else entirely: financing wars, smoothing political pain, and quietly transferring purchasing power from savers to the system itself. Not overnight, but step by step. Origins: the power of printing without calling it. Printing World War I changed everything. The government needed money fast. Higher taxes were unpopular. Borrowing had limits. So instead of taking money directly, something subtler happened. They issued debt, and the system absorbed it. The public still had dollars, but the cartus, supply of dollars, kept growing. And when more dollars chase the same goods, every existing dollar buys less. That loss of purchasing power isn't called a tax, but it behaves exactly like one. Instead of taking $1 from you, your $10 just became worth $9. Same outcome, different method. After the war, leaders knew the trick worked. And the key lesson was simple: printing money quietly is easier than raising taxes loudly. The rise: Bretton Woods and the global dollar empire. After World War II, the world was shattered. The United States held most of the world's gold, so at Bretton Woods, a new deal emerged. Currencies would peg to the dollar would peg to gold. America became the world's banker. Nations held dollars because they represented gold safely stored in US vaults. But there was a problem building beneath the surface. America was spending more than it earned on reconstruction, social programs, and eventually the Vietnam War. To cover the gap, more dollars were created. Foreign governments noticed. They started redeeming dollars for real metal. Gold began leaving the vaults. And in 1971, President Nixon made a decision described as temporary. He closed the gold window. From that moment forward, dollars were backed by nothing but trust, and the promise that everyone would keep using them. It wasn't a temporary decision. It was a reset. Money had become a policy tool, and every new dollar created from that point forward diluted all existing ones. The breaking point. When money stops being real. The 1970s exploded with inflation. Prices rose, wages chased, savings evaporated. People blamed oil, unions, companies, everything but the core engine, a money system that could expand infinitely. Eventually, interest rates were forced sky high to slow the bleeding. But the system had discovered a new addiction: debt. Governments realized they could promise more than they collected. Banks realised they could lend money that didn't yet exist. Consumers realised credit cards felt easier than saving, and the Federal Reserve became a silent partner, able to create liquidity almost instantly, smoothing crises before voters felt the consequences. With every bailout, every stimulus, every rescue, the message became clearer. Risk mattered less. Printing solved problems, except it didn't. It shifted problems into the future, spread across everyone invisibly through inflation. The silent tax was now embedded in the system. Fallout: when everything is built on debt. Fast forward. Households borrow for education, homes and survival. Corporations borrow to buy back shares and juice profits. Governments borrow simply to pay interest on past borrowing. And here's the paradox. If the system stopped, it would collapse. If it continues, your money keeps shrinking. Over decades, the results show up everywhere. $1 today buys a fraction of what it once did. Savings accounts grow, yet lag far behind real inflation. Asset prices rise faster than wages, locking people out. And when crises hit, dot-com crash, housing collapse, global pandemic, the answer is always the same. Create more money. Lower rates. Stimulate. Short-term relief. Long-term erosion. A silent tax multiplied. Failed fixes. Why policies keep backfiring. Politicians promise controls, price caps, subsidies, relief checks. But each solution requires more spending, which requires more debt, which pushes the Fed to create more liquidity. Cause, effect, repeat. Even reforms intended to tighten the system tend to relax once growth slows. No leader wants to preside over pain today, even if it prevents bigger pain tomorrow, so the can gets kicked. And instead of admitting that printed money steals value from savers, the story becomes, this is for stability. This is temporary. This is necessary. Just like every time before. Modern parallels. The pattern repeats. Look around today. Governments worldwide owe trillions more than they collect. Interest payments themselves are becoming one of the largest budget items. Household debt reaches records, mortgages, auto loans, credit cards, and yet markets keep climbing, fueled by cheap money. We're told inflation is under control, while groceries, rent, insurance and healthcare quietly chew through paychecks. Savings accounts pay close to nothing. The silent tax is working exactly as designed. It doesn't require permission. It doesn't show up on election day. It simply drains purchasing power, bit by bit, to keep a debt-driven machine running. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When every country runs deficits, when every central bank prints to stay afloat, no one admits who the real payer is, because the payer is everyone holding the currency. You, me, anyone storing value in dollars instead of assets that rise with inflation. 3 takeaways. Seeing the system clearly. Takeaway 1. Money creation isn't neutral. Every new dollar benefits the first receivers, governments, major banks, financial elites, while eroding the value held by savers later down the line. Takeaway 2. Crises justify permanent expansions. Policies sold as temporary during emergencies rarely disappear. They become foundations of a more centralized, debt-dependent system. Takeaway 3. Inflation behaves like an invisible tax. It reduces your purchasing power without debate, votes, or headlines, transferring value from citizens to institutions that created the problem. Warning. What happens when trust cracks? Systems built on belief work, until belief fades. Countries throughout history, from Rome to Weimar to modern hyperinflations, followed similar arcs, expanding credit, ignoring limits, and assuming confidence would last forever. It never does. The dollar may remain dominant for years, even decades. But dominance isn't immunity. And when people fully recognize the silent tax, they start searching for exits, alternative stores of value, parallel systems, different rules. That transition isn't smooth. And it's rarely fair to the average person who never realized what was happening. A call to think differently, So the next time prices rise, wages stall, or your savings seem stuck while assets sprint upward, ask not simply, why are things getting expensive? Ask instead, what is my money quietly losing, and who benefits when it does? Because the story of the dollar isn't just about economics, it's about power, incentives, and a slow shift in who pays for decisions made far above their heads. If you found this breakdown useful, share it with someone who still believes inflation is just bad luck. Subscribe for more deep dives into money history, global debt, and the hidden forces shaping our financial lives. And remember, the more you understand how the game works, the harder it is for the silent tax to collect from you.